Today the timetable has been changed a little bit, because what you would have noticed is that today you have a long stretch of silence. Some people live alone, and so they have a long stretch of silence in their life anyway. Some people have been on different retreats and may have had not just a few hours of silence, but a few days of silence, or even a week of silence. But there might be many of you here who have never had a conscious silence before. Even if someone lives alone, they fill the space with radio and television and internet and all sorts of noise, not just external noise, but also, of course, for all of us, there's an inner noise that's going on continually. And I'm curious to know how many people here within this gathering are going to be experiencing a conscious silence for the first time. Can you just indicate? Okay, a good number. So some of you already have the experience of being on silent retreats and so on. But today, after this, it's of course breakfast, but after that, your meditation laboratory. And then from 10:30 all the way through till this evening, there's a large amount of space for yourself. Firstly, I tell you what not to do. Don't go shopping. Don't see it as an opportunity. Oh, there's no program, so let's go down to the village. It's not useful to do that, especially today. Or, I haven't checked my emails, I haven't phoned, I haven't done this, I haven't done this. Let me get all that done today. There's a huge clear space of time. That's not what the space is for. And obviously it's your own choice what you do. But the purpose of creating the space is for you to actually experiment with what it feels like to go deep down inside and discover your own inner treasures, and also to be able to give you space and time to experiment with all the different ideas you've been hearing for so many days, and to actually be able to maybe have a glimpse of what that connection with the divine actually is like. And the third thing, to be able to experience that world of light, that world of silence that you've heard about, the home. And so that's the purpose of this clear space of time. So don't see it as empty time. See it as a time in which there's these 3 different tasks to fulfill. Because it's like when somebody wakes up in the morning and they think, oh, I've got nothing to do all day. And then all sorts of trivia come in to occupy that space, and the day's gone. And at the end of the day they say, well, what did I do? Nothing very significant, but all the time was gone. And so this space is meant for a very constructive, powerful, positive experience. It's a time meant to really accumulate the power of silence within yourself, so that you carry this out when you go back there, but also, having had a taste of it here, you'll be able to reproduce it, replicate it whenever you want. Preferably every single day, but whenever it is you choose. Because sometimes just being in nature, sometimes in the company of someone who's spiritually powerful, you have a very powerful experience. And then afterwards you try and replicate it. But you don't know how it happened, or it depended on external things. And so it wasn't within your own capacity to actually make it happen for you. And so today, a few thoughts to share on how to prepare for that silence and what to do in that space of time, so that then you know how to be able to replicate that experience at will. Of course, if the body needs rest, let it rest, no problem. So it's not that we're saying you must do this, this, and this. Do whatever it is that you need to do. And especially in terms of rest, if that's what the body needs, don't hesitate. Give yourself that space. But other things to pay attention to. You'll be walking, you'll be eating, and you'll be sitting, even if it's with others, but you'll be experiencing that inner solitude. So, what to do when you're walking? You're not driving, so that's a mercy to be grateful for, because that takes a lot of attention and energy and causes a lot of anxiety and stress, and road rage is something you know about. So what to do when you're walking around, because you will be walking, and you can especially go for a long walk around the whole complex. I wouldn't recommend going for walks outside the boundary of the complex. You heard about all those things, but there's plenty of space to walk around just within the complex. As you walk, experiment with a few things. Experiment with being the soul, the driver of this vehicle, the master of this chariot. There's a very beautiful image, a statue that's actually not whole anymore, it's quite damaged, but it's a statue in Delphi in Greece, and many of you may have seen it or seen photographs of it. It's a very famous one, and it's called the Charioteer, and it's a very beautiful, handsome face, a young man, and he's dressed in very royal garments, and his gaze is absolutely focused. And as I say, the arms are broken and other things, but that image is such a powerful one that it tells you what it means to be a charioteer. Now, if it was meant to be the physical charioteer, he wouldn't be wearing those royal garments. He would be wearing very different clothes. And his gaze wouldn't be focused and steady. It would be a very different form of gaze. And so, in ancient times, they knew what it meant to be a charioteer. And this young man is demonstrating to us the soul is the charioteer of this chariot. Now, as you walk, experiment with this idea. I, the charioteer of this chariot. Very consciously, I decide what to see and what not to see, what to hear and what not to hear. What is it that's going to be uplifting for me? What is it that's going to be causing pollution in my mind? How am I using my hands and my feet? And today, in silence, you're not going to get into cooking or serving or any physical activity in that way. It's really special time for you. Not luxury, but essential need. A time which is so necessary. A time which maybe you don't usually get for yourself. And so as you walk, just keep your gaze focused, and what you're looking at is not the beauty of the flowers or the grass and these things, but all of that is there, and beautiful surroundings are very helpful for you to go on this inner journey, because the beauty and the ambience, of course, is supportive of that. If you're in a place that's ugly, well, having experienced how to go in, you'll be able to keep that stage even though the things around you are not so pleasant. But today especially, yes, all of that is there. And sometimes when we've had a period of silence, people report back and say, I was appreciating the beauty of the sky, the beauty of the trees, the beauty of the leaves, the beauty, and all of that is great. Gratitude and appreciation of nature is a very important part of spiritual development. But that's not what it's about today. Today is for you to look inside. And yes, your eyes are open so that you don't fall down, but your gaze is focused on the inner self. And as you walk, experiment with being the charioteer of this body and being the master in charge of each one of your physical senses. Give yourself the awareness to be able to experiment with this idea. And the more you experiment with this, the more you'll be able to carry away this mastery with yourself. This word self-mastery has come into our language in present times. And it can be understood on many different levels. But the first step, the mastery of the physical senses of the physical body, the physical organs. The second step of self-mastery, the mastery of my inner faculties, my inner organs. And within that, just seeing if, with the intellect holding this awareness of I, the eternal being, the being of peace, the being of love, whether I'm able to keep my mind on that track of keeping this understanding and this awareness. And when you see each other, you don't have to avert your gaze. Although it's a large complex, you'll be meeting each other and many other people along. But what you do is practice another aspect of this inner state of soul consciousness. In the awareness of I, the eternal soul, who do I see when I see you? I see you as that sparkling point of light, as the eternal being. And there's a very natural connection of pure love with my brothers and my sisters. And so don't ignore the people that you meet along your walks, but see them in that awareness of the soul. Connect with them with a smile, with an acknowledgement. That will also help you in your inner journey. Because although the inner journey is one in which I alone can move, think about a mountain. And when you start at the base camp, it's a whole group. But the further you go up the mountain, the path to the peak gets more and more narrow. And finally, the path is so narrow that only one person can travel on their own. They can't travel with their companions, even though they've started the journey with their companions, and that's been very valuable and useful. But the final step to that destination of the peak is on my own. And in this case, on the mountain, physically, yes, you have God's help if you want that. But in this case especially, yes, you have God's help. But I don't have any other physical companions who can help me. But as I start the journey and as I move along the journey, to see others as my brothers and sisters and have that communication of empathy and pure love and respect for each one is the company that supports me as I travel on my way. Any other feelings interfere and actually pull me back. They hold me down. And definitely, I won't experience the mastery of the self. Within the beautiful commentary that you heard a few minutes earlier, and now it's become a ritual once a year, or sometimes not even that. And what I'm talking about is Thanksgiving. As you see, Thanksgiving has become a ritual once a year. But in fact, even in the days of my childhood at school in London, we used to first of all say grace before meals. And then at the end of the meal, we used to have a very short sentence of thanks together. And so, in my lifetime, all this happened. Today, in schools in London or in families in London, it's gone. It's disappeared. Never mind London, in India, it's disappeared. And so everywhere, materialism, consumerism has taken over, so the sacredness of everything has been lost. And so the sacredness of food, and of course what you're having here is vegetarian food, and you know that it's been cooked in God's remembrance by yogis who are following a very pure lifestyle and are meditators. And then after the cooking, we actually have an offering of that food in meditation to God. And then we put it in little containers, and then that's put into the big pots. And so what's then served to you is food that has already been offered to God and has been filled and blessed with that love and purity. It's actually the process of purification of matter. And as you see today, that's such an important aspect. And so especially today, but as I say, it's a gift to carry away with you and practice at home also. What food am I preparing? And how am I preparing the food? Out of taste, out of attachment, out of greed, or in the awareness of that this is what has been provided by God. And so when you're served, again, look into the eyes of the people who serve you and connect with them as souls. And when you sit down, just pause for a moment, giving thanks to the one who has provided. Because truly, human beings can plant the seeds and water the seeds, but there's an energy which is beyond human capacity, which is the energy of life, the energy of the universe, the energy of God, call it what you will, that's actually giving us all of this. So humans could make all the effort, and yet nothing would happen. But the way the rhythm of the seasons work, the way the energy from the sun works, the way the energy of the universe works is what has actually provided that on our plate. And today when you walk into a supermarket and buy a ready-made meal and put it into the microwave, you can see that all of that has disappeared. Or most times when people just grab a sandwich and run, or when they eat their sandwiches as they're driving, you can see that it's a whole different thing. Or when they sit and eat and watch television at the same time, that food isn't going to give this the pure energy that this requires. So if we see that today's world is so full of distress, it's because we've forgotten these very simple, basic, fundamental laws of nature and spirituality. And so today, the food is there on your plate. For a moment, just give thanks to the one who has provided. And then, as you eat, just be aware that this is sacred and it's giving strength not just to the body, but it's also actually impacting the mind. And in this consciousness, it's giving strength to the mind and it's bringing you closer to God. And it's also keeping the mind healthy and strong. And so the body is going to be more healthy also. I've got 1,000 different stories about Dari and how she's given a morsel of food that has been prepared in this way to people who are sick. And they get better, really. Many stories, many examples. But today for you, to try that for yourself. Just be aware and fill yourself with that sense of gratitude. And the silence will be again very productive and meaningful. But you can do all of this in your own homes. Cook food in God's remembrance. Nobody has time to cook 3 meals a day, I'm sure of that. But even breakfast, if it's very simple breakfast that's not even cooked, maybe it's just fruits, whatever it is. But before you eat it, thanks. And then eat it with that sense of that which is sacred and holy. Lunch, maybe that's on the run, and maybe it doesn't even happen. But again, whatever it is you give the body, at that moment of giving the body nourishment, again, thanks. And maybe what you do is just have 1 proper meal a day. That's probably true for most of you here. But especially at that time, again, this awareness of where it's come from, and to give love and respect and thanks for the one who has provided. The law of karma then says that you'll never go hungry. You'll never want for anything. There will always be an abundance in your treasure store if you've acknowledged the one who is giving. So, as you walk, you know what to do. As you eat, you know what to do. And eating in silence and just sharing those vibrations in silence and love together saves a huge amount of time. I'm sure that the dining room will be cleared in half the time that it is normally. The amount of time and energy that goes in conversations and communication is great, and that's another topic. But it'll save you a lot of time. You'll probably find that. And then the time that you make to actually find a quiet space, whether in nature, or whether in the dome, or whether in the auditorium, or the meditation room, wherever it is you feel comfortable. In that time, if you've practiced this awareness of the soul, the master of the body, then the experience of detachment from the body will be very natural and easy. You won't have to work for it. And you'll be able to feel God's presence, and you'll be able to connect with God in the way that has been described in all the different sessions that you've had. The being of light, pure thoughts of the relationships with the divine, the qualities of the divine, the gifts from the divine, the treasures from the divine. And if, whilst you've been walking, you've really been able to come to that awareness of being the master of all this, and the master of all this, then as you walk, you can have a conversation with the divine. You can walk with your friend. You can walk with your mother. You can walk with your father. You can walk with your teacher and your guide. And so you can have a conversation as that's happening. You're not just walking, but you're also engaging in that communication. But then, especially when you sit down, then that is the time to let the conversation with God begin, but also let the mind learn to be quiet. The meditation commentaries are to show you how to start using the mind in a very specific direction, so that that communion can begin. But within that, now do the commentary for yourself, and the words are not important, the concept is important. Connecting with God in whichever way you feel comfortable. But also, having created those thoughts, then let the mind be quiet. Positive thoughts and the whole process of watching your thoughts automatically allows the thoughts to become softer, quieter, slower, sweeter. And now you're ready for silence. Not an empty space, but a space in which the mind has emerged, the qualities that you know are the original qualities of the self. And what you're doing now in that silence, you've made the connection with the ocean, with the source. Now, that is yoga, the union, the communion. But now, let the mind be very still, so that you're able to receive whatever it is that is coming from the Supreme. The waves of the ocean are reaching out to you. And what you've done now is prepare yourself to be able to receive those waves. And that is a stage that's described as realization. in which you actually have an experience of that peace. You can say peace is wonderful, but that actually doesn't mean anything. But what you have to do is to get into that experience of peace. And when you're in that experience of peace, in that ocean of unlimited peace, you're not thinking at that moment anymore. It's like when you're in a deep sleep. At that moment you don't think, this sleep is a very good sleep. But what you're doing is you're lost in that state, in that experience. Then afterwards you say, that was a beautiful sleep, a very refreshing sleep, a sound sleep. And so in that state of realization and experience, you've prepared yourself through these hours to come to that. And in that state, you're in that experience, that state of realization. And there's no more thought. It's the feeling, the experience. And maybe it lasts just for a moment. That's okay. It's given you a taste. And you know how to be able to increase it to a few minutes. And more minutes, and more minutes. It's okay. Just a moment even. But a moment in which the mind is still and God's love and God's light and God's peace is actually reaching you and you're filled with that. So the hope is that you'll use this time to be able to prepare yourself to have this experience. And maybe you don't even need to go through the whole process of all the things that I've described. Maybe you're able to get to the stage of soul consciousness instantly. Maybe you instantly want to sit in silence and solitude and go inside, and the solitude is actually in here. It's not in outside, but it's in here. And you'll be able to come to that experience immediately. And maybe if all of these things are too much and you feel you need to do other things, there's another very, very powerful and positive tool that you can use. And that is writing. Write. But don't write about what you're going to do when you leave here. Don't write about all the problems that are waiting for you out there. But just write of what's going on inside. And yes, it may be that you're writing of the hurt and the pain from the past. It's okay. Maybe you're writing of your experiences of what's happened here. That's okay. Maybe you're writing of the things that you've understood and realized here. Maybe you're writing of the things that you haven't understood whilst you're here. That's okay. But the point is, don't write about external things or other people and what they've said and what they've done. Write about what's going on in your own inner world. And that process of writing is as good as reflection. Reflection is without any external tools in which you're going inside on the inner journey. But writing can be an easier way of doing this if you stick to those parameters of really going into the world inside and not the things out there. it may feel that between 10:30 and 6 it's a long time, but it won't be very long. You'll find that the time goes very fast. And if it feels very long, that's also okay. If it's your first time, that may be what you feel. That's fine. But at least you'll have had a flavor of what silence is about. But for most of you, I think you'll find that the time goes very quickly. There's another particular dialogue that I'm part of, and we started with 2 hours of silence. The participants then wanted 4 hours of silence. We've now extended it to 6 hours of silence. And we're thinking now that we maybe need to extend it to 8 hours of silence, because that was what people were asking for. They were saying, we want more silence, more silence. Because it's a very, very beautiful journey that you don't always have the opportunity to experience. So today, a special day, a day filled with rich blessings. The day of Thursday is remembered as the day of Jupiter, the day of Zeus, the day of the seed of the tree, and the day of the Satguru, the supreme guide. And the names for Thursday in the different languages all indicate this. Jyoti, Jupiter, Satguruvar, Guruvar, Hindi, all these different languages indicate that Thursday is a special day of blessings. Every day is filled with blessings, but today is extra blessings. So I'm sure that this is maybe why they chose today to have the day of silence, so that you can feel those blessings reach you, fill yourself with that, and automatically those vibrations and those blessings will be reaching out to those who are ready to receive them, those who are in need. And most of all, those vibrations will be reaching out and touching nature, so that nature can also be served. After having done all the things we've done to nature, it's time to serve nature. And yes, plant trees and do all the things of recycling, but more than that, send out vibrations of peace and purity and love to nature. So many things to do in the silence. It's not an empty space that you wonder how you're going to fill, but many things to do. Let's have a few minutes of a meditation commentary now. Om Shanti. What a lovely way to do a day.
an invitation to another journey. Inside the journey you did to reach this place, a most special journey before you begin the other physical one to return you to your place. One day for the most special journey within. Never forget, during this most special journey, all the friends, all the support available to you to keep your journey wonderful. If dark clouds come, or at any moment there's a struggle, remember with one thought, you can place yourself back under the sun. Give truth a chance. Give your inner peace a chance. Give God a chance. And with one thought, keep journeying inwards, upwards, into the light. Today's a day for coming into the beauty of your inner light, the beauty of God's world of light, and to share that light with others. All you need to do is just be. You have to be what you really are, and that's the beautiful, sparkling light of light, the child of God. Best wishes for a powerful journey, and Om Shanti.